and gentlemen, welcome to National Matters. I am your host, Pastor Moses Chiluba, and I am very sorry to bring the program late. I must admit that we landed at the airport 30 minutes ago, and our flight was delayed. But nevertheless, we are here. It's better late than never. In the studio, I have the FDD President, Madam EDITH NAWAKWI. Welcome to the program.
Good evening, my pastor. Good evening, viewers. Happy Easter to all of you. We are blessed. We have peace and love around us, and we should do everything within our power to maintain stability and peace.
We are talking about agriculture as the only salvation for Zambia. I've been a firm believer, Madam President, that agriculture, copper, has not developed Zambia. If it has, I don't know what percentage to give. But even up to now, the dividends that come from copper, they are not seen in our nation. Years immemorial, you see big trucks going there, big tippers going there, and a lot of things. But I don't know. Me, I've lost faith and confidence in copper. And I thought that agriculture would bring salvation to the nation. What's your view?
I am of the same view as you, Pastor. May God bless you for holding that view. If you look at the history of copper mining, it was before the Republic, in the 1800s. Even before the colonialists arrived in this country, our people, our founding, those who founded this nation, they were involved in copper mining. I think that we learn in schools that you have copper ingots at Ngombe Ilede. So copper mining is an odd craft. The question that one needs to pose is, has it developed the nation? I tend to think that one of our major undoing as a nation is this heavy reliance on copper. And for me, that's why I say that if God blesses me with an opportunity to lead this country, maybe it's high time that we push copper in the same position that we pushed agriculture. We say, well, let's see if it can be on autopilot, as agriculture has been on autopilot. You note that from time to time, when we have bumper harvests in this country, those are the years when you can trace stability in the exchange rate, stability in the prices. But when we have a shortage of agricultural commodities, then we have mayhem, we have civil strife. Let's face it, anywhere, whether it's in Europe or wherever, where there's a shortage of food, there's always civil strife. And it's only a naive leader who pushes the agricultural sector to the back and fronts sectors such as copper mining. Because unfortunately, from Cecil Rhodes to date, copper mining has been in the hands of foreigners. In the First Republic, our president, first founding president, nationalized the copper industry. And that's where you see that copper at that time was like the breast for Zambia. If you wanted to buy a DC-10, you went to the mines. If you wanted a school or you wanted a hospital, you had to dip in the ZCCM account. And that had the consequence of depleting the resources financially of Zambia copper mining. It was in the private hands, it was nationalized, and we had a joint shareholding with Anglo-American. But unfortunately, Anglo-American were not happy with that setup. They left it on autopilot. They didn't invest anything. And at the time of privatization, actually, the mining sector was a shell of itself. I recall that the day that I was appointed Minister of Finance, that particular day, we couldn't even settle a bill of $50,000. And we had a bill of $50 million to pay the workers. Government took over to pay the workers because government was a shareholder. But what saved us at that time was that really the government's concentrated on the agriculture sector. If your people are being fed, if your people have enough food, they sometimes don't care what you're doing, whether you're buying arms, whether you are doing unnecessary things, as long as they eat. So unfortunately, we are where we are now, where the agriculture sector, no one is putting any interest in it, especially the UPND government. They have no clue on how to use the agriculture sector to stabilize our country. We have tried to advise them from time to time. Agriculture is the solution. What developed India? Was it gold or copper? It was the agriculture sector.
In fact, one of my best friends, who is a scientist, he says Egypt was developed through agriculture.
Of course, I continue to repeat my visit to Egypt. At the time, late Prime Minister Wali was Minister of Agriculture, and Deputy Prime Minister, and also chairman of the party. He mobilized the opposition parties in Egypt, and they all sang one song. Agriculture was a savior for Egypt. I think that at the time I visited, they had reclaimed 1 million acres where they settled unemployed graduates. And Dr. Wali, late Dr. Wali told me that, look, you are a very young minister, but you must understand one thing, that there's a reason why, young as you are, the president of Zambia, our late President Chiluba, why he appointed you as minister. You are more important than the Minister of Defense. Without food, there's no security, he told me. He said to me, there are 3 things which keep a nation. Food, the army, and medicine. If you can handle these 3 sectors, then you'll be called a leader. If you mess any one of them, you are not worth being called a leader. At the time, I didn't understand, but he was like mentoring me and says, look, I'll push you through a program where I need you to visit and see what I mean. When there's unemployment, you can use the agriculture sector. And that's how they took me to a place where they had reclaimed 1 million acres, and they were settling educated graduates on 2 fedan. A fedan is 2.5 acres. And they got educated graduates from universities and settled them in Alexandria. First, they gave them these lots. They put a house, they put electricity, and they noticed that people would move from these areas back to town. So you know what they did? They gave each one of the graduates milking cows. So if you have to milk your cow, you can't be in town. And truly, to his word, you see a miracle of what can be done. And I'm very impressed with the president of Tanzania. This year, she has elected to settle 68,000 young people on the land. And she's doing a similar program to what the Egyptians were doing. You give them technical support where they are, agricultural extension workers, hospitals, schools, you do that area, and no one will run away. No one will want to be in Dar es Salaam if you give them 5 acres of land with a house and the electricity and everything. But you see, you have to be knowledgeable. You have to listen. There's no miracle to being a president, except you have to have the power of discernment, the ability to listen. God has given you power. God has not told you that now you are glorious. You must listen. You must have counselors. You must have priests around you. And then you can call yourself a head of state. But if you are Mr. I know it all, I am an engineer, you end up to where we are now. Totally on our knees. Totally on our knees. And I wonder what we have done ourselves as a nation, that we deserve leaders who have no power of discernment. We really need to kneel down and pray to God to save us from what has befallen us as a nation.
When you say where we are now, are you referring to the situation that Milieu is nowhere to be found? Again, I ask out of ignorance, Madam President. Like I said, why we delayed this program, straight from the airport.
You told me that you were out of the country.
Yes.
And while you were out of the country, I went shopping.
Yeah, now.
I went shopping to ShopRite. When you say, am I referring to the situation in which we are in now? I want to take you back to about a year ago, when our leader here, who doesn't like to listen, started exporting maize. Because he came in on this wave of, I am the knowledgeable one. I know what I'm doing. I think you recall the transition. There was no discussion. Because ideally, state security requires that you are briefed. I can't come from Nakonda and straight into State House, and God forbid. I hope when I'm president, he will not walk away out of State House. He will brief me. Because truly, Pastor, I think we must say it clearly. These our brothers have failed. It's time for the nurturing hands of mothers to take over this, because there's absolutely no way that President Hakainde Hichilema, who says he went to University of Zambia and is educated, and is a fundi in economics, can bring us to where we are. Basically a basket case in the region. We were the people who used to feed others. We fed Congo, we fed Zimbabwe in 2019, 2020. We are the fountain of hope. We had come to a point where we are food self-sufficient, enough to even feed our brothers. But he walks in, he doesn't take an inventory. He starts harassing everybody without any briefing notes from FRA or from his predecessor. He says he is the salesman #1 for the nation. He's not saying that he is the caretaker for the nation. He says, me, I'm a trader. I'm your salesman. I will sell everything. And he went on a rampage to sell our maize. If you went to Mpulungu, there were ships docking in Mpulungu collecting maize and mealie meal. At the time of last harvest, there were people from Tanzania, people from Rwanda, people from Burundi in the villages buying maize. You can't do that in Tanzania. The last season, there were people from DR Congo collecting caterpillars in Kanchivia. Are you expecting my relatives from Kanchivia to go and collect diamonds in Congo? Why are we so careless? Why are so careless?
So you are saying
so really, it's Hakainde Hichilema and his government who has brought us to our knees. There's no mini-meal in the country.
This is not a PF problem. Did they leave enough stuff?
No, President Lungu left enough fertilizer. Even that, you know, he's my young brother. And we need to respect each other. When PF left, the sheds for fertilizer were full of seed and fertilizer. And according to him, it's not his wisdom, I call it naivety. He said he wanted to audit each and every shed to find out if what PF had said they ordered was actually in the sheds. We never got a report except saying some fertilizer was not given, but he himself gave his friends orders for fertilizer. Now he found a lot of maize. What was his statement? Millers, you are free to export. If you go back to the record, I said, and I want to repeat, this man is going to cause hunger.
You said that?
Yes, I did. I did.
Before the shortage
Before the shortage, I said that it is not a coincidence that President Kaunda, President Chiluba, President Mwanawasa, President Arabi, President Sata, President President Lungu. It's not by coincidence that they would always say there should be minimum stocks. That's how a parent behaves. You don't empty your granary up to the last bit. I saw my late mother. Whenever we harvested millet, she would take the one at the bottom from last year, take it out. It even has a name in Namwanga. We say ekulu. Previous year's maize. You take it out and put fresh maize, and that which was previous year you put on top. I never saw my mother's granary empty to the last drop.
And that is at family level? That's
at family level. It's called household food security. But you have someone who is supposed to be a mega parent, a father of a nation, who cares little about the orphan on the street.
But this one, Madam President, hold on. I don't know if my director can give me a clip, because there is a clip of a minister of agriculture saying that we are not going to stop exporting, we are not going to stop. That directive came from the minister. My director,
even the president went to DRC and said we are bringing maize, but their naivety is in the ignorance of how you manage a home. That's where their naivety comes. Their naivety is inability to understand what is provided for in the Bible. That a slave in Egypt saved nations by keeping food for the lean years. So it's not just the minister. The president himself is on record as saying that he is going to export maize. They are even on record as saying that they've earned so much money in terms of from exports of maize. So we will see the clip where the minister is saying that he has they are not going to stop maize from being exported. But what happened is that they didn't realize that hunger in Africa stretched as far as Somalia, Sudan, Kenya, DR Congo, the Great Lakes region. As we sit here, we are surrounded by 16 countries just by virtue of us being at Mpulungu port. If these people are smart and they have what it takes, by now they should be able to be working on Mpulungu port as an inland port. But you see, they are so naive. They are so naive. I don't know what to say so that they can understand. But it's very, very unfortunate that they've brought us to our knees. They've brought us to be beggars. They don't understand what it should take to be able to run a nation. And for me, that's why I have said, in the last 24 hours, Hakainde must resign. Hakainde must resign from being president because he has failed. He's going to plunge our nation into absolute crisis. So it's not fair for the nation that has been at peace for so long to be put in harm's way the way he has done to our nation.
But before you go to Hakainde, President NAWAKWI, why are you sparing the minister? I don't know if you heard from the president saying that you should sell maize, you should do this, but me, I am waiting for my director to give me that clip because I heard the Minister of Agriculture saying that we are not going to stop. This is where, if it's in Europe, madam, in America, this is where a minister on moral grounds will just step down to say I've failed.
No, but Pastor, there's a clip on Camnet by Hakainde Hichilema before he became president, telling of PF that they've increased the price, they have exported all the maize. When he comes into office, he will not export maize. You have all those documents. The people must be reminded that in his own words, he said, when he's president, he will not export maize before the people have enough food. He said they're exporting to Malawi, he will stop it. He will stop exports to Congo. He will not allow any exports because PF prices are going up and there's hunger in the country. This is hardly 2 years ago. He has done the same thing. This is why I think and say this man obtained goods by false pretense. You know, it's an offense to go to a shop and obtain goods and not pay for them. The police will arrest you for obtaining goods by false pretense. And Hakainde obtained votes by false pretense because he said the price of mini meal is going to be 50 kwacha. Now it's 462 kwacha per 25 kilogram bag of mini meal in a ShopRite. And I want to be very clear. This is a 5 kg bag of mini meal.
Yeah.
This is a 5 kg bag of mini meal. I bought it today at ShopRite. The price is 59.99 ngwe for a 5 kg bag of mini meal.
Is that the receipt you use?
Yes, that's a receipt, just in case they say I've manufactured it. That's from ShopRite Great East Road, the former Pick and Pay. Now, you look, this is false pricing. He says 59 kwacha 99 ngwe. This is what we call false pricing in marketing. When you look at it, you think it's 59 kwacha. This is 60 kwacha. Now, how many 25 kg bags are in a 25 kilo bag? There are 5. 5 times 60 kwacha. 300 kwacha, Mr. Hakainde. Mini meal is going at 300 kwacha if you are buying my 5 kg.
That is here in Lusaka.
ShopRite, Great East Road, former Pick and Pay shop. Now, Mother's Pride is now, this is 2.5 kilograms. 2.5 kilograms. It's costing 37 kwacha, 36 kwacha, 99 ngwe. Look at the receipt, it's called maize meal. Now, this is 2.5 kg. He says he's a fund in mathematics. So how many 2.5 kgs are in 25 kilograms? It's 12.5. So 12.5 times this, that's 400 kwacha. Mr. Hakainde is sitting at his community house and minimum is being sold at 400 kwacha. And you are insulting us when we say
Thank you,
don't
Mr.
know.
Director. Yeah.
Now, that's not just a national meeting. What I can say is that Hakainde sits with millers every day because they go to him through the Millers Association. So I can only say to the people of Zambia that he knows, he's aware. His state security intelligence, they are all aware. He just doesn't care. This is 1 kilogram from Africa Milling.
You came armed, Madam President, eh?
ShopRite. I'm a shop at ShopRite.
Show it in that camera. Yes, that one.
This is 1 kilogram, kaka 1 kilo. I don't even know if it's a correct weight. We have to ask weights and measures. Now this is 15 kwacha, 99 ingwe, 16 kwacha. How many 1 kilogram portions are in a 25 kg? Multiply this 16 kwacha by 25 kg. It's over 300 kwacha. And you call yourself a president, you are sitting at your community house. People are suffering. This is what? This is 29 kwacha, 30 kwacha, 2.5 kg net
this
weight.
Is from where?
Africa Milling in Lusaka. Now, this is 30 kwacha, 2.5. 30 kwacha by 2.5 times 12.5. How much is that? And you call yourself a head of state like this when people are suffering? How many families can go and buy this? He is responsible for whatever is happening because we told him, stop what you're doing. He wants to think that everyone is down. But you see, people have told me that, you know, you went to university with him. My answer is very categoric. Maybe Vale Kupwa. Economics, because you see, they are saying that the millers are hoarding. Why anti-processors hoarding sugar? Why isn't Zambia sugar hoarding sugar? Why is the processors hoarding cooking oil? In economics, hiyo nasa mbirire ne ku University of London na ku University of Zambia. Shale kopa ine. You know, elo takwadi multiple choice. Takwadi select 1, 2, 3 or none of the above. But if he really learned economics, he would have known that people are really on the verge. You see, when goods are scarce, like the dollar is scarce, the price goes up. When cooking oil is scarce, people will hoard to try and make money. But when it is plenty, no one will hoard. Now, is this normal for a young man who went to university to reduce the country to Pamela? He must resign. I actually think that even Ivana Lumango can be a better leader because she's a pastor, she has a congregation. So he must resign. I've seen a statement where they're saying, who takes over if he resigns? He has a vice president. And Ivana Lumango runs a church. Maybe she will understand the feeling of our people while we are arranging to go for elections. This man has no empathy. This man must be told he resign now. Because these are his friends. ShopRite, these are his friends. These are the business community he mingles with and meets with. These are the so-called investors that we have here. Now, when you talk, they say, me chilankalipa. Because what is happening is that some of us have workers on farms. If you go to buy mini meal, they will tell you are getting 1 bag. Does Hakainde expect me to load a truck of my workers to come and start camping in Lusaka looking for mini meal? Because you can't find 25 kgs anywhere. You can't. So you take workers. There are workers on farms. there are people who are sick, there are schools, there are orphanages. How do you buy minimum if you are limited to one bag? This is not correct. This is just sheer ineptitude, incompetence, and lack of understanding of what the office of the president takes.
Let me play another clip. It seems that my director didn't find the clip by the Minister of Agriculture. For me, I hold the Minister of Agriculture responsible.
No.
You are speaking
I have been a minister. I've been a minister. Minister of Finance, Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Energy, Minister of Labor. You are doing that job on behalf of the presidency. We have a presidential system here. We have told Hakainde Hichilema that he should fire Mutolo. I said Mutolo is This Mutolo was single-handedly issuing permits. Are you telling me that an entire minister, the whole minister, should sit down, not even the FRA? If you wanted an export permit, it was issued by the minister. That was a cabinet decision to export maize. So the iniquities of Mutolo, who is totally inept and incompetent, was sanctioned by Hakainde. So I tried to say, fire Mutolo, he's going to risk your job. He didn't listen. So now the man on the spot is him. If you fire Mutolo, do you have the maize? If the boss had said no export of maize, would you export? No. Nothing. Even the Minister of Finance, you go to Parliament and say, I am a bearer of the message from the President, recommending favorable consideration of the ways and means here I lay on the table. You don't say, I am EDITH NAWAKWI, I am a minister, or I'm Sokoto Anestumbego, I am bringing a budget. No, you say I'm bringing it on behalf of the executive boss. So whatever the minister does, the buck stops on the boss. He's incompetent. How does he not see that his ministers are not delivering?
I want you to listen to this clip by the Kenyan Minister of Agriculture. I think it got to my mind, it got to my heart, because I noticed that the Minister of Agriculture, in there, he was proudly telling his people what achievements he has done. Mr. Director, if you can give me the clip for the Minister of Agriculture in Kenya, I would appreciate.
I'm telling the country that we have very good news in a very few months, because we are getting serious support from the government of Zambia by giving us opportunity to ship maize from Zambia to Kenya. I am getting land to grow maize to bring to Kenya. As a short term, immediate measure to address the problem, because we can grow maize, they can grow maize in 4 months. I want to tell you, by the end of August, we will have brought down the cost of unga to less than 120 shillings. We are not negotiating. I'm even going extra miles in contracting farmers to go do farming for me. In another few weeks, I'm going there to give farmers contracts to do maize for me to buy to bring to Kenya. Whatever they produce, I will take, because the cost of production in Zambia is quite low. I am going to get a ton of, what percentage my friend, I'm getting $300 per ton. If you were to work out that arithmetic, $300 per ton means what? Is when you say a dollar probably won't be, today's at 130, or the 130 times 300 is 3,900. That is 3,900 is what the Zambians are likely to sell their maize to me for a ton. So if a ton is 1,000 kilos. So 3,900 divided by 1,000 means that I will buy a kilo of maize less than 40, or around 40 shillings. So what I only need to do is negotiate with Tazara Ridley or anybody else to ship the maize in Kenya. And the worst case scenario, probably even if the transport was to be double, we will get to 80. So if we were to get maize here a kilo at 80, then we are good to go.
So that will be as soon as August?
In 4 months' time, because now, you know, we have to contract them to do the farming for us. Anybody to get in the farmers know who will take that produce. So I'm saying, I've told you the other immediate measure, I've given the permits to the free to bring in the maize. I have given people permits to bring rice into the country. And these ones are supposed to be here in the next 14 days.
How many farmers?
So as we consume what we have imported, then we are preparing other farmers outside Kenya to grow maize for us to bring to Kenya. So we will address the issue. Don't be worried. You'll not sleep hungry, my friend. Yes. So look for money to buy, as well as at the same time, make sure that that small shamba of yours, whatever size it is, you have planted an onion, a cabbage, a tomato.
My concern, Madam President, is this minister. When I got this and hearing him boasting that we are getting maize from Zambia, and that he has gotten land. He has gotten land for us to grow for them. I think this did not sit well with me, because are we servants to be growing food for Kenyans? And what? I think this is where the problem is. This is why I'm saying it's the minister, because this is a minister securing food for his nation.
I think that it's a greed. You have a president who is driven by money making. For him, what he sees is profit. Look at this. There's no money which Zambia has made out of this transaction. Because a bag of maize, a 50-kilogram bag of maize to Kenya is going at 150 kwacha. That's what they sold for. But this is maize which was bought at almost 200 kwacha. You collect it, you transport it, you fumigate it, you bag it. No profit was made. Now you ask them, what is it that he was looking for? What favors? These are people who didn't even support Ruto. They supported the other people. And so now he's using us to endear himself with President Ruto. I said on this platform that because they didn't deliver fertilizer in time, I was asking them to use constituency development funds to buy short maturing varieties and go to the regions where we are still having rains now and plant short maturing variety. I realized myself that I couldn't plant maize in Chisamba. I planted in northern province. It's tasseled, it's cobbing now in January. But you see, when we speak, this man says he knows everything. He's Mr. Fix-It. And there's nothing that he can fix. What he is done is to fix us. You cannot, and you shall not, and you never export food to other nations when you are in short supply. I don't know whether it's ignorance of not knowing when the harvest season happens. And unfortunately, this year, there's no bump harvest anywhere. They messed up the fertilizer deal, and he was telling our brothers and sisters in southern province, wamba kuti no, chino chaga fertilizer yakachelwa mu 2023 irabola mu wambana. Now, what are we going to eat? Even if fertilizer comes early in 2023, because there's no harvest anywhere, there were floods. Because these people, the way they behave, it's as if they have gone to God and God has told them what he's going to do. You know, have they got an appointment with God? You say, no, I'm going to sell this crop in the shade because I'm going to harvest. Have you got an appointment with God? There are floods everywhere. Fertilizer was late. So now we are going to start eating ourselves. People are going to be cannibals in this nation because there's nothing to eat. You go to Eastern Province, there are floods. You go to Southern, there are floods. You go to places somewhere near Mumbwa here, the crop is, you know, it's finished. So what is the plan? What is the plan? the disaster management report, which was supposed to be tabled August last year, was only being tabled in November, which showed that 50 districts in this country were on the basket case. They needed to start shipping food to them. And that's at the time they are giving him the report. That's the time when he's exporting the maize. So already we are going into 2023, 2024 in a very, very strange deficit. And the man doesn't care. For all I know, his interaction with Kamala Harris should have been, please, tapapa tamayo, tuwafurishe nuko tumataba. But pala mpelenda lama shakula tutamsha muma bedroom ati vampera 16 million. He should have been asking for food relief from the Americans. Now we see that this same so-called Mutolo, he's issued a letter to the millers, please import mini meal quickly because it's in high demand. Allah.
Is that letter written by the minister?
By the minister to the millers. They don't even have the etiquette of how to. They don't know government balance, these people. They are naive. They are unschooled. And where are they going to import the maize? From GMO-infested regions. And this Kawana says, no, GMO is good. For all these years, Zambia has been GMO-free, and the Hakainde must introduce GMOs in this country. People come to Zambia to get maize because it's GMO-free. And these people now are saying it's okay for our children to eat GMOs? Is that what God has for us? Look, for all it takes, Zambians, you got what you wanted. And it's in your hands. It's time for you to understand that even in the Bible, the Israelites cried for a leader, and he gave them so. The first thing he did was to introduce taxation. And what did Hakainde do? Taxation increased, fuel increased, midi meal, short supply, electricity, everything in furtherance of the agenda for IMF. And I want Zambians to know that wherever IMF and their compatriots step a foot, check South America, there were lots of instability. Southern America has not recovered from the instability that was introduced because of IMF programs. You have to do these programs with a bit of understanding, not just blindly, nkunkunku, wafika at Kennedy Airport, you go and say, yes, Mkwai, I'm from Zambia, corruption. They will fix you the way they have fixed Hakainde. In fact, they don't like him. If they liked him, they would have disbursed the money. They are single-handedly going to evict him from State House.
Madam, NAWAKWI, I want to understand. I speak again as a pastor. You people that are in the opposition, you people who are leaders, I've always said, let's work together. You see now, this hunger, this shortage of midi meal, it's not only affecting UPND, it's not only affecting PF and all the political parties. When it comes to food shortage or midi meal, it's not a political issue. And this is where patriotic Zambians should not just look at issues from the political lens. I refuse that. And when we have a problem, insokanga yaingira munganda nangu pansaka, it won't go for just one person there. If it's a common cobra, it will finish the whole lot of you. So we have this problem. We have no midi meal, which is true. My wife, when we were out, she instructed someone to go and get midi meal for the boys at our football house at the camp where the cabinet stars live. And they said there is no midi meal. I thought it was a joke.
No, it's not.
However, I am saying, you as opposition leaders, why not come together and sort out this problem? Because, I'll tell you something, I would want President Edgar Lungu, I would want yourself, President Membe, President. This is a national issue. Uwawa tabamuseka kumwafuilisha aima. Okay? So what are we doing? How are we going to solve this problem as a nation? Let's assume, no assuming, okay, UPND has made a mistake here. We have no meal. Whatever led to this, we'll leave it in their hands. But how are we going to get out of this as a nation?
Who has the instruments of power? Vishaine ba pastor kuti na afika fepali ba chitimukulu. Ati ba chitimukulu isentwi kala pati mipande kwa mano. Nangu batata ba mwine Luvemba ewe nganjita mwana wandisa kuno. Ndikuona akaishu hapa uleto ndonga nyashani. Efyo buteko bwaba. The one in the driving seat has to humble himself to be able to ask for advice. And advice from whom? You see, the challenge that we have here is a person who thinks that they know it all. That's the only problem we have. I recall the days of President Mwanawasa, President Sata. He would call anyone and ask for advice. But this one, I don't think even his ministers can advise him.
Is that the opinion that the public has formed over the president?
No, that's what I'm saying. You need to understand, Pastor, is that I've worked with him. I was his deputy during UDA. I know. Because you see, it's not about sitting at a table. When we are on this platform, the office of president are listening to the program. Even the State House is listening. We have repeatedly told him that he's surrounded by novices who can't advise him. Open the Bible. He has ministers from his church. They will tell him that any king in the Bible was surrounded by priests to advise him. But if you are surrounded by Eli's sons, whose job is to eat the flank, to get to this position, you need to be astute enough to make a decision only after you have understood the implications, political, social, and economic implications of your decision. Nangufeni nena mayo ba pastor, there is no way that I can govern the way this one is governing. Absolutely no way. I would do far much better than this. Because first you must realize that you don't have the monopoly of wisdom, which he thinks he has. And he made the first cardinal mistake to humiliate his predecessor in the showgrounds there. And other nations also, as they were moving away, other leaders. Showground or Heroes? I mean, Heroes Stadium. Even as other presidents were going away, they also felt humiliated. It is never done at a national inauguration that you invite opposition leaders to your... You invite Cyril Ramaphosa, you also invite the opposition. You invite Museveni, you also invite Bob Wine. You invite President Mnangagwa, you also invite Chamisa. What do you want to achieve? What do you want? You've left the league behind. If you're mutufundi lati ngawa upamayo, wila angala nava nove chinja mano, wila angala nava kuluva nove. Nomba wena, ku stadium kulia, you have President Mnangagwa and you have Chamisa there in the stadium. What do you want to achieve? Who is advising him? There are people who he can ask for advice, who can easily offer it. Like our former secretary to cabinet, Vambula. Those are renowned and accomplished civil servants. If he just asked Uncle Mbula to go to State House, no, ni attitude ya kutila tinalifishiba. So, what can we, amenshina etika kale, tapali ubunga, elo valela ndatikachite ni import amatava, when do you place the orders? When do you place the orders and what time do they arrive in this country? Because I know, as the Kenyan minister said, it's a lead time of 4 to 6 months before you can get a ship to load in Brazil and dock in Durban or wherever you want it to dock, and then you transport by land. You get, with our bottlenecks, you get up to 6 months. So, what I can say to my relatives and friends, what we are just begging you to do as Zambians, hold this nation together. Don't be angry. Hold this nation together. God gave us a peaceful nation, and we have got what we asked God to do. We asked him to give us a leader. He gave us a soul. I'm sure God has a David hidden somewhere else. That David is already anointed. And just be patient. That David is coming. So please, please, if you never iwe wichitefi aya fichita awo mkwai mwamu nefi achitike kuli Saulo awa Saulo wesu tukwete ubunga 465 kwacha for 25 kg and they are doing forced pricing. He says he's an economist, should have known that ShopRite is selling minimum at this price.
Is this a government regulated price or ShopRite is just doing it to embarrass us?
No, ShopRite is a retailer. They put a markup. It goes all the way.
Or to the millers.
Yeah, it's not meant to embarrass us or do anything. It's the economic environment which Hakainde has provided. There's high fuel prices, high electricity prices. They're even saying pay workers more. And if you change these numbers, you find that 462 kwacha divided by 20 kwacha is how many dollars is it? I mean, this is inspired by Washington, and he has gone to bed with a devil. And the agenda of America is not to uplift any nation. The agenda of America thrives when there's chaos. They are thriving in Libya. They are thriving in Afghanistan. They are thriving in Syria. So they are thriving. Americans are thriving in DR Congo. They've been looting our resources in Congo. And they want there to be chaos in Zambia so they can take our lithium. This is the reset button. And unfortunately, they have someone who is walking along with them.
But what if, again, Madam NAWAKWI, what if these same millers have the cartel to ground our government? Because they have for them to be producing this, it meant that they got maize from food reserve agents, they've got enough stock, and now, because these things, if they bought it, I'm just saying, if they bought a bag at 200 kwacha, a 50 kg bag, for argument's sake, nothing has changed. Whether price of fuel has gone up or what, if also millers have got the people at heart, they should not go to this level. Why not investigate them also?
But who should? Who should? The backstops are the boss. I can't really look. President Lungu was releasing maize, and if millers are doing that, President Lungu realized that he was not a fan and friend of the private sector. That's why he started building up Zambia National Service milling companies. Why can't they? And there is quite sufficient capacity. If you think the millers are doing a sin, why not go and mill with ZNS? The bottom line is there's no maize. And the second issue is that the leader is a hard-nosed capitalist. Has he ever met with the consumers? He only meets millers. Has he ever called us and said, how are you feeling? Has he ever actually gone, like now, I went to ShopRite. Why didn't he go to ShopRite? There's no mini meal except in ShopRite. We've been to a lot of shops in Lusaka in the last 24 hours. Mini meal was only available in this packaging, not in 25 kg, in this packaging in ShopRite, not even in Pick and Pay. And this is very high-level marketing technique. I did a bit of marketing. They call it force pricing. $1.99 makes you think that you are paying $1, but you are paying $2.
$2, yeah.
Yes. So the bus,
2 kwacha.
2 kwacha. So you know, why is he sitting at community house and not being seen on the street? And I feel like we don't have a president in town, because when there's a crisis, the only voice which is soothing to the people is that of a president. The president should come out, this is what I'm going to do, we have a problem, my people, this is how I'm going to solve it. But there's mute, complete silence, except from Kawana, who says, no, GMO is good. And these people must stop what they are doing, because they are part of the problem. Because I remember when I was Minister of Finance, that day we had less than $50,000 at the Treasury. And the economy was shaking, and people could hear the wind, the rumors that, which were true rumors, that there's no money at the central bank. That's when I held a press conference that, you see, we're doing everything possible. I've just been on the phone with Washington, put them in the corner. I said, listen, do you want this government to fall? And the assurance of leaders is like a chamomile. It calms your brain. But when there's a problem in the home, the father runs away, the mother runs away, what happens? There's a problem in the home called Zambia, and our president has gone underground. He must come out and tell us what are the solutions. You actually said we need to talk to him. He has got access to money. The money he had, we told him, this is Santa Claus which you're going in and say a constituency development fund. You end up with no emergency funds. There's no emergency fund for the country. What do? There's no medicine in the hospital. You go in the hospital, you don't even have, you know, liquid Panadol. So if you're a patient, you just have to do your best to swallow. There's no intravenous Panadol. In the hospitals. He's sitting there. Have you ever seen him do inspection in the hospitals? When they go to medical stores, there's usually, at all times as I know, there's usually 1 month's worth of supplies of medicines in store. They call it emergency, because the army needs to have emergency. 1 month must never deplete below 1 month. That's why you see them take pictures. Talk to us. Talk to us, please. Go to the hospitals and see if in fact machines are working. If you go to UTH, you find the machines are not working. The cancer patients are suffering. And there's no medicine. It's not the fault of the doctors. It's himself. Because he says things are okay. He wants us to believe his narrative that things are okay. But tebalela ala nensala. Bantu aba kukarikirika abalela ala nensala. Nina ni kukarikirika ungachita afford ka 2 kilos every day. Akateka bwadika bantu 5 yaka. Niba ngabe ngati yaka. Even ibenda munganda kuti bakwanaka. Mwe bantu bakwalesa. Chino echalo lesa tupele. Noluse lwakwe. We are positioned in a most strategic location on earth. 8 nations around us. When you go to the Pulungu port, you are facing 16 nations in the Great Lakes region. We are the most favored nation on earth. And yet, we can't just find the puzzle to put together. The puzzle is agriculture. The puzzle is agriculture. Mwe bantu bakwalesa. Nangula bahagainde tabalefo kuchita resign. Baife palivi for 3 months. Inje mombe pofe. Just for 3 months, I show him what I can do.
Unfortunately, Constitution does not allow.
He can give me the instruments of power and I believe for 6 months.
Madam NAWAKWI, admittedly, as a pastor, we have a problem because my church members are affected. The Zambian people are affected. Again, I don't want you people who are in the political circles to look at this problem from the political lens. That one I stand firm, including cadres who are too good at judging. Even when they are suffering, they are pretending like they have eaten. From UPND, from PF, from what? This, I am saying, is a national problem. How are we going to step in and help our government? Because when people start dying because of hunger, it's not just President Hakainde will be laughed at and this government, it will be the Zambians. Like you heard that minister from Kenya saying the Zambian people have bought land, I'm going to buy land, they will be growing maize for us. Today we become servants for Kenya. That is too hurting. I am simply saying, how can we come together and help this government? Madam, take off your political jacket. Take off the political...
I'm speaking like this because I've belabored the point for almost 2 years on the issue of food security. I realized that he was exporting maize. I also realized that they had failed to distribute fertilizer. I provided solutions. I suggested that the money which was already in constituencies should be reallocated to the agricultural inputs within the constituencies. My suggestion was that get even 1,000 people resident in constituencies together with their MPs and councillors to grow short maturing varieties. That was in January, just before January. I was hitting a rock. Now, when you say, Pastor, that what solution can we provide? Here, the solution is not for Mutoro to be tolocaling around Toro. First, he should fire Mutoro. Second, he should come out as a leader and say, there's a problem, what do we do? There are people like me who he has shown never to meet, never to talk to. So the only way I can talk to him is through this media. There are people who can help him if he wants, but this is not a president who asks for help.
Has he personally told you that he can't talk to you, Madam NAWAKWI?
I know. If you are in church, your pastor, you are sitting in that chair and your friend is sitting there, hasn't he seen you? The system of government is that before a president arrives in a place, they will brief the presidency on which other people are in that place. You're not a statistic.
Yeah, but...
but Pastor, if you say we should help him, how do we help him? Maize takes 90 to 120 days to grow. How do we help him? I suggested 2-3 weeks ago exactly what the Kenyan minister is suggesting. My suggestion, which I think is viable and he can do it, was to say call the commercial farmers to State House, not just the ones you want. Not Diego Casili, please, na papata. Call all commercial farmers from Kushi, from Southern Province, from wherever. Anyone with a center pivot, call them to State House. Please provide them with seed and fertilizer to do a winter crop. Maize grows throughout the year. That's my solution. That's my suggestion. But instead of taking that suggestion, Mutolo Tolokas goes to Kenya to go and tell the Kenyan minister, no, I have 20,000 hectares of land for you. Come and grow maize and take it to Kenya. The solution now is what President Mwanawasa did. Contract commercial farmers to grow maize now. We will be hungry for the next 120 days. And then give them free electricity as an incentive, because no one is going to pay those high ZESCO rates to pump water. And give them free fertilizer and agree on a price to sell back to government. That's what I would do myself. That's why I'm asking him to leave and give me 6 months. I can sort out this problem. And that's the best way to do it. So I don't have to sit with him. He has a head. I'm sure his insembos have head. Please, napapata. Tuakula luke ensala. Ask commercial farmers not to put up a crop of wheat. May is coming, all commercial farmers are going to put up a crop of wheat. Beg them that they should put up a crop of maize, and you are going to take up the cost. That's the only solution. If we leave it as it is by December, because this is going to go to the December, and we'll be planting in November, God willing, if it rains, the harvest will be the other year. So we are in for a long haul. And for me, what hurts me is to see a country which has had peace being diverted to areas where we don't want to go. Because Umuzambia ninangu ngana kwatafia kakeneka pamela kuti ayasa bagundu alia tashupo Muzambia mupera kabunga please na papat.
You know, madam, again, I want to bring this issue. I'm still insisting. Me, as a pastor, I have problems with people who surround the president.
Of course, we all have.
I'll never stop talking about this.
We all have problems with his advisors.
Because, no, not just this one. My wife and I were sitting in the Cathedral of the Holy Cross. There was a funeral there, not a funeral, just prayers. Before President HH came into power, he sat on the left. President Edgar Lungu sat on the right. President Edgar Lungu didn't instruct anybody to stop HH from greeting his friend. He stood there and the people were watching. I said to my wife, this is where I have problems with the protocols and the people surround the president. Here is the President HH. He rises to go and greet his friend, Muchech. They stopped him. People will recall that, those who were in that. He stood there. And this Muvitanawa was trying to negotiate. President, you were there?
I was there.
I was very annoyed with I said, this is uncalled for. This man is in the opposition. You mean he can't just go and greet the president? Now, there was President Edgar Chagwalungu. He didn't instruct anyone to say, I don't want to greet. This is what I'm saying. Even now, we are faced with this problem. No minimum, no what. Why should somebody stop me from State House going to advise the president to say, Mr. President, let's do this? Even the opposition party. I've got problems, Madam NAWAKWI.
I always say that what I am is what will be projected. You mentioning that incident, I was at the funeral of my late brother, Dr. Mpande. May he so rest in peace. And there were other people, and we were sitting. And it's not that he didn't know I was in church.
Who?
HH. He greeted Zigzag Rose and left. You understand? It's a very dangerous culture. It's a very, very dangerous culture. He has people he doesn't want to talk to. And you see, 3 weeks ago I was to be arrested because I commented and said that he's a badly brought up child. And I was referring to him insulting his elder brother, because this is not the first time. He has insulted his elder brother on 2 occasions which I hear, and we have clips. One in Pemba, he insulted him in Tonga, what we can't repeat, and printables. And then they came and they muffled it up and said, no, that's a Tonga saying. No, you can't insult adults. And then say it's a saying, because you, as a leader, you are a mirror of the society. So this toxicity, in my view, will end when we change and realize that Africa has to be mothered at some time with mother's hands.
I see now.
This underdevelopment that we are suffering, you take Tanzania. Our president was saying, no, war in Ukraine. But in Tanzania, village headmen were gathering their people, and you say if you have 10 hectares, the government will fund you for 5 hectares. The next 5 hectares, they will say, we'll support you 50%. You can supplement on it. And in Tanzania, people have planted. Soon we are going to be saving ourselves from maize from Tanzania. The difference is that that's a mother. That's a mother. You look at Malawi when my elder sister was there. Things were changing, and you know, it's a phenomenon which Africa has to realize that time has come for inclusive leadership, and that when someone is in office, they don't have the monopoly of knowledge. And the quality of leaders you surround yourself with will determine the outcome of your leadership. And you must surround yourself with people who can protect the state. As president, that's not the ultimate. There is a state, and the state is the state machinery. It includes everybody. The day after elections, you must be able to say, I am the president, I'm walking ahead to embrace my nation. But if you go ahead and continue with the divisions, you end up where we are today.
Before I open the lines, Madam NAWAKWI, let me also bring myself there on behalf of the church, that I think also as a church we are to blame, because the Bible says, blessed are the peacemakers. The church hasn't been there to call Madam NAWAKWI, to call President HH, to call President Membe and say, sit down. Let's not just heap things on you people. I think also as a church, not that I think, we are to blame. Because when such a thing, things are going on, it's when, like the earthquake hits the nation. Is it going to hit one section of the country where there is opposition or where there is a ruling party? This is economical earthquake. What is happening? It's affecting the UPND, it's affecting the PF, it's affecting the Socialist Party. Everyone is affected. And we must come together. Again, I say that as a church, we are to blame. Because that toxicity you are talking about, if you can't talk to President HH, President HH can't talk to you, and this Kalava can't talk to this one, there's a problem also with the church. And on behalf of the church, me, I'm taking that blame. Because when we sit and just say, NAWAKWI, Tawomfuanana by HH, that's a problem. That's a problem right there. So after this program, my wife and I will map out strategy. We will map out strategy. And I'll call my other pastor friends so that this can't go on. You should be able to pick up the President HH, I want to see you, and joke, and just talk. I think the solution to this nation is one, love, understanding one another. And when we are faced with a national problem like mid-meal, we should come together. Let me open up the lines for the people to advise us, to talk to us. And those of you who have got political gloves, don't go here pouring fuel on the fire. No, this one is wrong, this one is what? The issue here is agriculture salvation. We must all go to agriculture. And also I want to appeal to the government that this minister of Kenya, who is saying I've bought land in Kenya, in Zambia, and will be growing maize to export to Zambia, whether we have enough land, please, let's stop it. To Kenya, let's stop this issue. This is my view, and being a Zambian, I'm not going to be a slave to be growing maize for another country. That's my position. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, thanks all.
Permanently blessed. Who is this?
This is Jimmy calling from Northwestern Province.
Jimmy from Northwestern Province.
Yes, sir.
Jimmy, please go ahead and contribute to the nation.
Okay, good evening, Vice President, EDITH NAWAKWI.
Good evening. How is Northwestern Province? Mulino Bunga.
Oh,
Yes, Jimmy.
President, I think me the hope for you. Now the problem, what I saw you was due to going peace. Otherwise, you are supported and people loved you. I think in your campaign,
I think. Let me not cut you. We are looking for solutions. And you
Jimmy,
are describing me. You can get my number. We can discuss that.
Yeah, that
you
should
you
be
didn't
avoided.
complain when I was with UPND in UDA. You didn't, and I will not allow you to go on that line. I'm not the moderator, but we are looking for solutions.
You are right. I was going to make a comment. Yeah. Contribute.
For the contribution, hello?
We are hearing and the nation is listening. Go ahead. Oh. You see, Madam NAWAKWI, I was going to going to put him on the right path.
I said, I'm not the moderator.
I don't want somebody to call and say, President HH this, President NAWAKWI this. This is besides the point. I sit here as a pastor. I want to find a solution. Whether President HH has made a mistake, it's not the point for me to be pointing fingers at him, and it's not the time for me to be talking about President NAWAKWI. I think that is, we are going past that. How are we going to come together as a nation? This is national matters. And the problem that we have, you just asked Jimmy, have you got to mid-meal in Northwestern? He said no. Now he's talking about the things which are past, where you didn't. I think let's get it right. We are faced with a national problem. How are we going to come together, work with the government? Let's come out of this problem together as a nation. Are we going to allow our land to go to Kenya so that we are growing maize for Kenya? Are we so full that, anyway, anyone contributing, if you have a message, please send. Is there a message, Mr. Director? Hello, good evening. Good evening.
Hello?
Yes, sir, we are hearing you. What's your name and where are you calling us from?
No.
Amuti? Stanley. I think drop the line, Stanley. The line, we don't want to waste time saying hello, hello, hello. Your line is not as clear as Jimmy's line. Mr. Director, please give us some text messages that we can handle. If they are there, no messages. Okay. Those of you who are saying you want to contribute, push here, this line here. If you can send the messages, we are going to read them. This one on the middle, 0962 444 726. If you can push the messages right now, we will be able to come together. Madam President,
Okay.
let's look beyond the midi meal. How are we going to face our future as a nation? Okay, this problem, it will be sorted out. How are we going to look?
If people are willing, if Sanga Bantu, my suggestion is what I've done. In this country, we have commercial farmers who have center pivots. You can go to Uncle David Gordon, you can go to people in Mkushi. I mean, we can pass through this by planting winter maize. It has been done, it is possible. And beyond this, let us take the irrigation funds and quickly buy center pivots. It will not be like ketchup, but at least by next year, we would have farmers with center pivots in situ. The challenge that we have as a nation is that everything is politicized. You go to CEC, they say it's for development, but it's only for those who are politically connected. And we have evidence of that. You find if you apply, they will say, this project which belongs to Pastor Chiruba's son. Why mention the father when that citizen is a young person, is a citizen? So,
hello, let's pick up this call, Madam President. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Hello.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling us from? Hello, good evening. Okay, we seem to have lost that. Yes, Madam President.
I'm saying that every problem has a solution if you seek for the solution. There is no problem which is beyond human nature. God said, go in the world and conquer, subdue the earth. We are failing to subdue the earth. So it's high time we realize that we are getting behind. Just 2 years ago, Zimbabwe was importing food from us. Now they are self-sufficient. I would advise that as one of the steps, the president crosses the river and goes and sits with his elder brother in Zimbabwe and finds out what he's doing. He has made a program where every citizen must have enough food for themselves and they are being supported. But you cannot go to IMF and accept a program which reduces your food production. That's mistake number one. I think that the agreement between Zambia and the IMF is part of the reason where we are here. In fact, if you look at the latest minutes, they are saying that, well, Zambia has moved to eliminate some people from the FISIP program. They are rejoicing. I want the president to know that when a situation like this happens in a nation, it is not in the interest of the borrower nation. It's in the interest of IMF. And IMF, we are not the controllers. The people who control IMF is the West. It was for them that it was created. So when we are in a crisis, the beneficiaries are those people who want to come and loot our minerals. It has happened not in far-fetched nations. Angola here.
Let's pick up the call. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Pastor.
Good evening. Who are we speaking to?
You are speaking to Eldambewe in Kabwe.
Eldambewe in Kabwe.
Yes.
Please go ahead and speak to the nation.
Yes, I just wanted to contribute
also, and I agree with President NAWAKWI what she has said.
Yes, sir.
I think the best thing that we can do at the moment is to bring in the commercial farmers, plus the ZNS, all those with pivot centers. I think we can have enough food, because we have meant that we can grow for just 3 months. After 3 months, then we'll harvest, and all these problems that we are facing now, it will go. Yes, that's what I feel. The other thing that I can also advise the government is that they just need to swallow that pride and allow all these contributions which we are giving and take them and put them, implement them. Then we'll be fine. Yes.
So to admit that, no, we have made a mistake, we have blown it, there is hunger, to swallow the pride, is this what you mean?
Yes.
Okay. Eodambewe, just between you and me, are you there?
Yes, my pastor.
Has the church been part of the problem for failing to reconcile the opposition party with the leaders? Do you think we also have a problem?
Yes, we do. Actually, I was expecting that immediately when we changed the government, I was expecting the church to come in so that all those differences which were in the past, they are sorted out. But it's like, I think we have it.
Okay, that's Mr. Mbewe. Let me advise you people from Eastern Province. From Eastern Province. Listen, number nkwete muno 0965883. Don't call me. You are sending the messages. Ninjishwe fiance fima messages. File fima kacholola kunyimba. You know. So don't call 883. This is not the number to call. The number to call is 0968675 a number ya kutuma ndela ndo kubale tuma. Okay, those of you that have got my number, personal number, this one, you can send me the text, I'll read it, and you can also send the messages. Mr. Director, do we have the text messages now flowing? Winter maize for mid-meal is a failed project because a bag will cost 400 kwacha, 50 kg. This is Mwanawasa steered it. Mwanawasa steered it and failed. What's your comment?
I have said that the government need to subsidize fertilizer and seed and electricity. So it's a failed project. What's the opportunity cost? To have civil strife or deliver mid-meal. Is this cheap, which is going at 462 kwacha for a 25 kg bag? And you see, this is a challenge we have in our nation. I suggested in January, and I did a small hectarage for myself, that fertilizer was late, and it wouldn't be practical for government to start buying fertilizer in January to deliver. But government had said that they had delivered constituency development funds. My suggestion was, let members of parliament and their councillors and their leaders in the constituencies sit together and apportion even 2 million kwacha to each constituency to plant early maturing varieties, which mature sometimes in 60 days. We are just doing seed for one seed company in Chirundu. They haven't even planted. They will harvest before October.
I think
so. You see, we are locked in a cycle of poverty, and poverty by nature. That's why they say vicious cycle. Poverty breeds poverty. Umpawisi ugawanika. And so what's cheap? To import GMOs or plant our own maize? What's cheap? So when we are making suggestions, they are viable suggestions. Why the winter maize failed? It's because of the high cost of electricity. My suggestion here has been, call the commercial farmers. Tell them that the electricity bills, if they grow maize, will be subsidized by government. Tell them that they will get seed, they will get fertilizer. For them to save, it's a security measure. I'm not proposing it as a commercial enterprise. I'm making this proposal in view of the insecurity that has arisen because of the shortage of mini meal. You say that the church has failed us. I have seen the church in the past, before this era, get us together. And I would be sitting next to my colleagues, the unprintables which come from this camp. It's amazing. I think I want to say this. Once we were at Mulungushi in 2016, the international observer had come. So they called all presidential candidates to sit at Mulungushi International Conference Center. It was a sad day for me because the approach which my colleague, now president, had towards the sitting president was something that left the international community marveling. So when you have that attitude that you are God-given, I mean, to the point of saying, can you leave that chair? By the time I get there, everything will be destroyed. He's there, he's been ordained, wait for your time. Except now we are saying he must resign, so we have early elections because he's failed. So it's a genetic makeup of the politicians you have as a church. Just recently, about just before Christmas, some youth choir came and invited me to a fundraising at government complex. I fundraised, I went there, and there was a government official there. There was someone from the minister's office and someone from the defense. Do you know what they did? When I started speaking, the commandant walked out.
The commandant of?
ZNS, he walked out. Commander Solochi walked out. And these young people were told, why did you invite Edith NAWAKWI? Now, me, I associate the defense with peace. If the defense chiefs can't put us together, they will be told to come and shoot me, and they will shoot me. And these people, I think, were even sanctions for inviting me to a fundraising for a youth choir. I never believed that it could happen like that. I say this today because we must be truthful. And because you think that the church is the only problem. I've served as minister. I'm entitled to a national funeral. I expect Commander Solochi, ZNS1, to carry my coffin. When I'm invited in a place where he is and I recognize that my ZNS1 is here, that's all I'm expected to do. But he walked out of my meeting in a Christian gathering. So what do you expect the uncalled to be? And he's an elder in the church. So it's not just, I think let's call each other out. Maybe that's when healing will come. Because when the politicians can't protect each other, we expect the defense and security to protect each one of us. But I don't expect someone in his private capacity at a church gathering to walk out because Edith NAWAKWI is in there. So these are some of the challenges we have as a nation. The politics are going beyond what is acceptable, beyond development, beyond security. Our nation is being put in a very insecure position. And for me as a mother, I don't want to be running around the border, crossing borders. I need to say, this is a problem, how do we resolve it? I've suggested how it should be resolved, and we have said repeatedly that Mutolo is not an asset to this government and to this nation. He's as blank de blank, and he is with a consonant of the president they have caused this problem. So he can't be a solution. You need knowledgeable people in agriculture to be able to resolve this problem. Even in importing of mini meal, if you tell me that import mini meal, that shows how naive the minister is. Because it's not only me who needs to eat. My pigs need to eat. My chickens need to eat. So if he imports mini meal, am I going to feed my chickens mini meal?
Let's pick up this for Madam NAWAKWI. Hello, good evening. Hello?
Hello, evening. How are you?
Permanent Bless. What's your name and where are you calling us from?
This is Alpha calling you from.
Please speak a little bit louder. You are faint. Hello?
This is Alpha Sunday calling you from Smaller South.
Albert Musanje.
Yes, sir.
Is this the bishop?
Hello?
Is this the reverend?
Yes, sir.
Reverend, please contribute to the nation.
I just want to say that the big thing that brings the nation down is about the life that we have.
You are not as clear. Please speak a little bit louder.
Okay, just want to say that the thing which block the problem in our country is that politicians usually lie to sometimes people for them to come to power. That's a big issue that is bringing more problems and poverty in our country.
You say the politicians lie to the Zambian people to come into power.
Yes, that's the main issue that brings problems in our country.
Okay.
Hello?
Yes, sir, we are listening.
But if they will come in power through many people things, I think we are going to have big problems in our country. And when I come to this with the grappling them.
Sorry, are you picking anything?
I think you should do.
Sorry, Mr. Musanje, Pastor, you are not clear, and if we can't hear in the studio, then people won't hear. I just heard him saying that the problem is that you politicians, you lie when you are in the opposition. When you come into power, after lying to the Zambian people, these are the problems. What would you say to his comment?
But that's a challenge I have, Pastor. You are saying we politicians. Have I lied and been in government?
Who?
Have I lied and been in government?
No, it's generalizing.
No, that's wrong. That's wrong. We should be specific and say, Hakainde obtained goods by false pretense. He said that minimum will be 50 kwacha, it's now 462 kwacha. He said fuel will be cheap, now it's 30 kwacha. He said electricity, he said you'll be giving 12 bags of fertilizer. He gave out 2 bags to a group of 30 people.
Okay, let's take it to that.
Those that have been there, tell us whoever lied to get into power. Tell us. This one is the most famous one.
Okay,
he has obtained goods by false pretense. We should report him to the police because it's a criminal offense to obtain goods by false pretense. Votes are goods.
Okay, let's put it that the government is settling down. I know we'll get somewhere.
How many years does it take to settle down?
Somebody is here asking, what is your comment on the Mpika? Is it Petauke? I mean, where there was the Petauke attacks of the journalists and also Serenge?
You see, you know, we are playing with live wire. It is not by coincidence that as a nation, literally we've been wallowing in peace. It's not a mistake. This is God's chosen nation. This is a nation ordained to be the eye and beacon of light. So us, the residents, instead of kneeling down and thanking God, we are playing with live wire. I want to quote President Hakainde, and I hope, Cabinet, you have that clip where he himself was saying, oh, President Lungu, PF are incompetent, exported maize, the what and what. In his own words, he has done exactly what his brothers were doing in
Sorry,
PF.
Madam.
So, the attack on journalists, the hooliganism by UPND, they are playing with live wire, especially at a time when people are starving. I think that it's incumbent upon HH to keep peace, to rein in his people and say, people are agitated, people are not comfortable.
Let me read this one. It says, Pastor, Madam NAWAKWI, may she tone down her bitterness, which is even shown on her face. Maize we have in Zambia. That is why we have plenty of meal being smuggled. This is somebody who feels that it's out of bitterness that you are advising.
What am I bitter with? What am I bitter with? They should be grateful that I made Hakainde president. Because coming from a boardroom, and I invited him to our residence and said, let's go and announce that you are leader of UDA. I'm the one who made him, so there's no bitterness. I am totally beside myself to find a young man who says they're educated in economics, presenting a very bad side of economics. Because we should be the source of food. Now, when he says, that's why people are smuggling, can you tell me why ShopRite is packing 1 kilogram mini meal and then you call me bitter? Of course I'm bitter because my workers, I can't find 25 kilograms. I can't take 1 kilogram to my workers in Chisamba. I can't do that. I can't take I can't afford 37 kwacha, 2.2. Each household that I have, and I have over 100, they use 200 bags. Now, tell me, how much money do I need to feed 200 people? Tell me. If you have a funeral in Karikiriki today, where do you buy the mini meal? I think you people who think that you are still in the campaign mode, help your president, please. It's not bitterness. We're trying to help you to avert a national disaster and a national crisis. But Pastor, the riots of 1987, where did they start? You don't want to be in that corner. You don't want. We don't want. Some of us understand the relationship between politics and food. As I mentioned the area, there are 3 things which a nation and a leader must take account of: food, medicine, and defense. Then you call yourself a president. Right now we have no medicine, we have no food, we have the defense. And I think you understand. Now there are too many young people, they don't understand. They think being on the iPhone is vogue. Some of us in our outward years, we are leaving this earth soon. And we don't want to leave a nation with our relatives across the borders. We have been home to refugees here. We don't want to be refugees because of our carelessness.
There is this text, Madam. Good evening. I am Josephine Tambu from Northwestern Province. Kindly, we are asking the President HS to have mercy upon this country. We are suffering a lot, no medicine in hospitals, and the price of meal has increased. So we need solution, please.
We need solution.
This is coming from Northwestern Province. And there is this message also that has come from a general, Chongo. He says this government should not be proud of what is going on, and he says people are suffering, and their messages. Please give me some messages through the. Okay, good evening, Pastor. My advice towards that program is to tell the president to stop exporting mealie meal, because we can't be suffering because of business, which we Zambians don't even benefit. We have never seen a parent who cares more pabana ba neighbor than his own. This is Joe Smart.
That's the truth. I mean...
the other one is saying, sorry, Madam President, greetings, Pastor Chiluba. I'm commenting on the clip of Kenyan Minister of Agriculture. If you look at it from another point of view, you see that the Kenyan Minister is paying for the maize and helping create revenue to the farmers by awarding them with contracts. Thank you. This is Patrick from Mutendere. This is how would you...
You know what? What they haven't understood is that a bag of maize in Zambia was going for 200 kwacha. And this government sold the same maize at 150. What business is that? It doesn't make business sense.
And how is it helping our nation?
How?
When we are struggling?
But can I ask Patrick if he can go to Tanzania and start buying rice in the villages? We wait at the border post at Nakonde there to buy milled rice. We buy milled rice. There's no Zambian who goes in the villages to buy beans and rice. But here I have said, when it is time, I don't know, our country is like chibansafye wasanga abakukongo bale tole fishi kukanchibia ulepitafye they are pickups and what niba ni abati makongolese. They even pay in advance to collect nuts. But what are we doing? Anyway, let me give you a solution. There's a myth about food reserve agents. And unfortunately, UPND has come in and just sat there with their 10-point plan. We don't even know at what point they are. Whenever we said, give us our manifesto, they said the 10-point plan. Now, for me, I believe in the wealth of small-scale farmers. Now, I look forward to a day when each district will have a silo of its own for food security in that district. And it's very simple. Food reserve agents, you can take them out of buying security reserves. You can say to them, FRA, we put you responsible for trading Zambian maize out of the country. And each district, when they grow maize and put in their silos, the only job for government is to make sure that each district has silos. So when you grow maize, as a cooperative or as a district, you put at this silo. And FRA can then trade in that. That's organized. You don't need to fund FRA from the treasury. FRA, we can tell them, for every ton you sell, you get maybe 5% or 10%. FRA will be funded. I'm not saying that I'm very smart, but, you know, I'm the one who created the surcharge, the 3% surcharge on electricity. I created the fuel levy. The idea of the 3% surcharge was to electrify the rural areas. When you pay here, I take 3% from your bill, I will electrify Mateo. That's how I electrified Chilenje, Matelo, Tuapia, in a very short time when I was at Ministry of Energy. Then we said, okay, put fuel levy. What was the idea behind fuel levy? Give equipment to ZNS. With the fuel levy here, the money, you can then open up NAWAKWI and those areas. Now we have the toll gates. What does Hakainde do? He takes the toll gates and gives them to Diego Cassidi. That's government money which I need to open up rural areas. Anyway, by nature, it depends on which school you went to. And all of us can say we have degrees. Bambi balakoperana paunza, bambi bachita multiple choice. So once balatupera my degrees, whether now pass or pass, as long as that yo, even now pass. But how you passed, they don't ask. So you can say I'm an economist or a businessman, but I mean, show us your prowessness. Show us you're a businessman. Show us your acumen. Don't just tell me you're a businessman. As someone says, you can be a businessman even if you are slaughtering cows and selling. I sell tomato, I'm a businesswoman. But show us your acumen.
Let's pick up some text messages, Mr. Director. Please give good evening, Abafiashi, Pastor Chiluba, and Madam NAWAKWI, President NAWAKWI, of course. This situation is really disheartening. I saw the clip for the Kenyan minister. I feel that must not be allowed. As for the solution, what Madam President NAWAKWI has said is the way to go. Let the leadership engage commercial farmers and let them stop importing maize. This is Priscilla in Lusaka. I must commend you for what you have suggested also. I've heard this, I must comment. You said that the winter maize failed during Manawasa because the farmers were paying for electricity. They were paying for this. But because this is an emergency,
yes.
If the government can withdraw, you know, the charge on electricity for certain farmers, ZESCO can do that. If we can subsidize Kufima mines, file Yakopa, file senda no kusenda, they are not paying much. Why not a farmer? This suggestion is very important for our nation.
The farmers are preparing to plant wheat. This is an emergency. Would rather have no bread to put it to a porridge nangwe fiumbo. So you say to a farmer who is going to plant 400 hectares of wheat, what are you expected to earn from this? We'll pay you, please plant food crop. They will do it. All of them are citizens. They may come from Zimbabwe or from South Africa. They care about the stability of this nation. And this should teach us a lot of lessons that we should also support our own people. You saw Mr. Chilala being stripped of his assets in Mukushi. We should have many of those whom we can rely on and say, brother, but in this country, these foreign banks, when they dry clean a Zambian, the Zambian has nowhere to go to. A Zambian has nowhere to go to. As a Zambian, you go to a foreign bank to borrow money, they look at you like you're a pariah. But people come into this country. I have known people who have come here with just a mere caravan and go to banks and they get lots of money. They even give them money for a house, a car, school fees, and say, what are you planting? So we are as inferior as we were as colonized. But it starts from us leaders. If you think it's okay to dine with the West, you can't consult your own people. I mean, what is that?
I want my director to play this. I think this is on my mind for the agriculture minister. I still go to it because it's a pain to me when you let your people scrounging for tumaliru aka muletere madam NAWAKWI ngana kombo kafemu evening so
nganine na chipakinga ngwachilanda ati no, you are malicious, but is written what?
aka ngana bwela fye chungulo so ninyenda uka na mpundu wandi akabwali akatinalo.
It's 16 kwacha for 1 kilogram.
16 kwacha.
Yes, now you calculate 16 kwacha times 25. It's over 375 kwacha for a 25 kilogram.
My director, play this because if you're Tulanda, Filesa Mukubwela, and this is for the Minister of Agriculture. I don't hate him, I don't know him, but I just got offended that we can be selling maize and exporting, and the Minister of Kenya is bragging that Kenyan. Give me that clip for the Minister.
Government policy is that we shall never, ever stop exports of meal and where it is absolutely necessary, maize. we have sufficient stock.
The minister says we have sufficient stock. We shall never stop. I think this is what, when I heard this in Parliament, and now I'm seeing this, where is the sufficient stock?
You see, this is the point of inability to hand over. When he walked into office, as a security measure is to ask the former, where are the armory? How do you deal with the army? How do you deal with food? Which contracts are still in the process for medicine? But everything was like, no, we are coming in, you stopped exporting of maize. And he rushed to meet President Tshisekedi there. No, I will send maize. No brief. You see, it's a travesty of justice. It's a tragedy that we brought up. The 2.8 valid to later, and we will depend on the 2.8 to help us. Because even when you arrive in a village, you ask, nomba nga wafika fe ukasenda neshiru. So number one, the only thing that was important for him was to be sworn in and go, and Lungu out, go and stay wherever you are. Whether it is the Speaker of the National Assembly, no, get out, get out. Everybody hounded. No proper handover. And this is a mistake this country has made from independence.
You know what?
We need to create a culture of proper handover, not just handover of the mantle and the mess at the handover, notes, transition. We need to have transitional governments. Now, this kind of behavior is what we are suffering from.
But what if
he exported all the maize because he didn't understand how to manage the nation.
But what if the situation is like it was in America, where Trump refused to hand over to Biden, and he walked out, he flew out, he says, I can't even greet him. Even here, you have opposition leaders and those in office, sometimes they don't see eye to eye. Hand over, Madam.
Actually, maybe we should agree that the men have shown us what they are. You, our ministers and pastors, should now demand that this change should be a change to the mothers, and see if I want to hand over to another mother and to another mother. Because we have seen what these men have done. Yes, so they are showing us their colors. And maybe the men within our borders are toxic. Maybe we should look for children somewhere else to come.
Madam NAWAKWI, I'm very thankful. This we cannot exhaust. It's quite vast. But every Zambian, we should come together. This is a national disaster, if you want me to call it, because when things go wrong, there is a minister saying we shall never stop. We have enough stocks. I think this is why I said even ministers should learn to resign on moral principles, to say, I didn't figure out myself. You know, time should come in Africa where you just walk out and leave this. I'm saying this because he is the chief advisor to the president. As a minister in charge of policy, he goes to the president, Mr. President, we have enough stocks, don't stop exporting, what do you expect the president to do? Nevertheless, it is very unfortunate, but we should go towards hunger elimination, poverty elimination in this nation. And the salvation to our nation is agriculture. Let's grow enough maize, Madam NAWAKWI, so that the millers also, they should be investigated by the government. Because some of these millers, they are an agent or enemies of development in Zambia. I know what I'm talking about. Some of the millers are foreigners. They have no attachment to this nation. Whether Zambians suffer or not, they will just give it as it is. This is why I think, like you said and the president said, let's push all the maize to Zambia National Service because they will manage this nation.
Yeah, no, Pastor, you have a point. I think you know that the owners of national meeting are Americans. And when we said to our president, open your eyes, he continues to go that way. And Americans are the only ones who have known to conduct coups directly or indirectly. This is one way of taking off a government. We don't want our government to be short-lived. We want to continue to have our 5-year constitutional terms, but we don't want this backdoor arrangement. But they've been aided by the government themselves. So, at the point where we are now, it's important to cross ranks and save the state. And save the state by talking the same language. Yes, Mwanawandi, it pains, but in 6 months' time, I'll have maize from Mkushi, from this way or that way. Provide some alternatives. And I don't see the mental aptitude of our food minister. He doesn't have that capacity. You can't go to the hospital and find there's no medicine and go back there. And I don't know, he is in love with people from former MMD. He's deeply in love with them. Most of the ministries where we are having problems, I don't know how you can advise him, because when we advise him, he thinks we are his enemies. But the only interest I have is my nation. Look, what is Mutoro delivering which he didn't deliver in MMD?
Madam NAWAKWI, it's a joy to have you on this station. And I want to say to the President, President Hakainde Hichilema, in Bemba we say, Ichisosa chipamano. Sometimes the people who advise from the opposite direction of your thoughts are considered to be enemies. I sit here, I want to repeat, this shortage of meal is not just affecting the opposition. Even those in the ruling party are getting affected.
Yes.
But when you are bent at just criticizing, it's NAWAKWI, it's Chiluba, it's what, you may even miss the point to say, what are these people saying? We are saying, let's come together. Political jackets, take them out. This is not a point, a time when we should say, President HH has done this, President, we should come together and solve the problem. And to the Minister of Agriculture, I say to you, Honorable, that give us a word. Just as much as you delivered in Parliament that you have enough stocks, please tell the nation how much stock we have and deliver the people so that they stop buying Tuma 1 liter. Tuma liter? Tuma kilo. May God bless you. On Wednesday, we have a program again with National Partnership of Greatness. I haven't even talked. When I say what are your solutions, I think I'll bring it on Monday on National Matters. Madam NAWAKWI, my wife and I have got our solution to be part of this government, to be part of this nation, to eliminate poverty.
Yeah.
I have got that, and I will lay it next on National Matters. On Wednesday, we'll be talking something else. Tune in to CAMNET station. President NAWAKWI, we are always grateful for your insight, for your advice. And let me say that as a church, I still stand that we haven't done a better job, because you and President HH and all this opposition, you are supposed to love each other. This is a Christian nation. You are not supposed to be saying, my brother this, is saying, my sister this. The failure is on the church. We've also got vested interest. If you belong to President NAWAKWI, you think she's the best. You belong to President HH, you think he's the best. You belong to, but when as a church we come together and say, these are sons and daughters of Zambia, let's treat them equally. Zambia will be a better country to live in. You are a blessing to this nation, Madam NAWAKWI, and may God continue to bless you.
Thank you very much. Having said that, I want 6 months of his time. Maybe I can work in his office on agriculture for pro bono. When I say fire Mutolo, it's not that we don't try to contact them. I've personally tried to contact the Minister of Health, the Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Livestock, and they are scared, because if their phones are seen to be talking to the opposition, then they are scared of their jobs. So it starts from State House. When he says, get ideas from your colleagues, from my colleagues, they will open up. As late Michael Sata used to do. Why are you insulting NAWAKWI? She's saying that they are ghost workers at UNZA. Are there no ghost workers? And the minister says, yeah, people have not been paid. Go, find out what she's saying. And they would call you and say, what were you saying? So you tell them, and if they can do it, they can do it. If they can get suggestions, they can get suggestions. The idea of calling commercial farmers at the moment is a solution in 4 months' time. In the interim, please don't give us GMOs. Look for mini meal and maize where it is non-GMO.
You've heard it for yourself. On behalf of my wife, the CEO of this wonderful broadcast, I'm grateful for you. And once again, I apologize for coming late from the airport, and I am grateful for your time with us. Believers, let's pray for this nation. Pray for our president, pray for this government. All of you Christians, no finger pointing. Let's pray for this nation. The devil may want to take over the soul of Zambia, but he's not going to do it. And let's love one another. For all of you that have been viewing the CAMNET stuff, you are just fantastic. From me, I can simply say keep watching CAMNET TV, because CAMNET TV is not just another channel. Bye-bye.